What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Actuali Podcast. I'm Chris,
I'm DJ.
and today we are going to discuss the aftermath of the 2024 election. It's been a wild past week. How are you guys doing out there? Hope everybody is well, considering I know your all's social media feeds have been pretty crazy, if they're anything like mine. And yeah, anyways, that's a whole other game. That's a whole other game. How's your week been, brother?
It's been.
Yeah.
It's been. People are going mad.
Yeah, they are. To be expected.
Yeah, but not like this, and like how out in the open, and how just like not talked about it in the way that it really needs to be talked about in the places that it really needs to be talked about. Like media isn't talking about, like all the craziness that is going online and what people are saying online. We'll get to. I don't want to do spoilers, but like I remember back in the day where if the right was saying some of this stuff, you'd have the FBI kicking down their door
For sure.
real quick.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we have seen a lot of, how do you call it? Violent language, threatening language being popularized out there. It's definitely, people are blowing off steam. They're trying to show how emotionally distraught they feel about this situation. Very many people are deeply concerned about Donald Trump winning the 2024 election. And, from their perspective, with good reason, considering the media that they have been consuming, we all found ourselves basically corralled into different reality tunnels for like the last 8 years in a more excessive way than I think we've ever experienced in this country and around the world. And as a result, we are only seeing news for our group, and we're not, typically encouraged to challenge our side's ideas. And we certainly aren't challenged or encouraged to challenge our own beliefs and ideas. But being willing to do so, I think, allows us a wider perspective, helps us to be able to understand more of why people are the way they are in this world. So it is natural for us to be very upset in a time where we feel let down and betrayed. And I know a lot of people probably do feel betrayed by the Democratic Party right now. If you don't, I'm not sure why not, because I've felt betrayed by them for most of really all of my adult life, ever since I came of voting age. And I remember I didn't know who to vote for, but Bill Clinton and George Bush were running against each other. And my sister was like, "Hey, Chris, who you voting for?" I said, I think I'm going to vote for Bill Clinton. And she said, "Oh God, why?" And I said, "Well, isn't that who our parents voted for?" And it's like, "I don't know." And she's like, "No, you got to look into him and check out Ralph Nader." So I checked out Ralph Nader, and actually he's pretty on point in a lot of ways, independent, and I actually did some research on the Clintons, and I discovered the BCCI money laundering scandal that the Bush family and the Clinton family allegedly took part in together as they were running coke into Mena, Arkansas, while while Bill Clinton was governor and George Bush was director of the CIA, perhaps. So, anyways. We might do an episode on that sometime. But let's start this episode off with a little bit of comic relief. You all are probably aware that a comedian named Tony Hinchcliffe of the Kill Tony podcast recently had some controversy when he made a joke about Puerto Rico.
Well, it was more about Puerto Rico's municipal trash problem.
Well, that's actually, it was a deep joke, and that was actually part of the premise that in the setup, he's talking about there's a floating island of trash out there in the Pacific Ocean. He's actually talking about this because Tony actually cares about this. He actually knows a lot about this subject, and he also loves Puerto Rico, and he's well aware of the trash problem they have because of their overwhelming landfills. But anyway, let's let him speak for himself. So let's check out this clip, guys. This is hilarious. And ready to switch on over. Let's go.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
I'm currently under attack. I'm the news. I don't know if you guys know this, but on my speech on free speech, I referenced Puerto Rico, which currently has a landfill problem in which all of their landfills are filled to the brim. I guess I'm the only person that knew about this, unfortunately. With that said, I just want to say that I love Puerto Ricans. They're very smart people, and they're smart enough to know when they're being used as political fodder. And right now, that is happening. And I apologize to absolutely nobody.
Tony
that was
Hinchcliffe
great.
just uploaded an episode of Kill Tony.
Hilarious. That was from Joke
that
World.
was
Thanks,
good.
Joke World. Right.
Yeah, well, and he shouldn't. And it's oddly ironic, but not ironic, because like in order to be a good comedian, you do have to be aware of what's going on, and you have to be able to be relatively accurate enough with your imagery to make the joke land. And what's ironic to me, though, is the fact that like more than half of the news apparatus, plus and then half of the voting people, principality and all that jazz, or whatever you want to call them. We should know about this, and it's a shame that a comedian has to tell us about it. And this is the first time they're finding out, as a comedian made and it wasn't even that dark or insulting of a joke. Like, it's like,
No, you should have seen the rest of the jokes he made.
But that leads up, though, to when Biden came out and called Trump supporters trash. And I'm going to steel man the argument here and be like, well, maybe the Democrats really felt that actually, yeah, this guy was calling Puerto Ricans trash, which he wasn't. And if that's the case, then God, these guys are dumb. And I don't think they're that dumb.
No.
You know what I mean?
I don't either.
So it was an obvious, propaganda, calculated propaganda attack against
Absolutely. It was a last-ditch, pathetic effort. Check this out. I just actually brought this up because I was remembering while we were watching the clip here that at one point in this episode of Kill Tony, something really crazy happened. So Kill Tony episodes released on YouTube, I don't know, like a few weeks or so after they're actually taped live. And this episode that just released on this past Monday was the one that was filmed the day after he had made this joke at the Trump rally about Puerto Ricans. So we just saw the clip. Now, here's later in the episode.
Oh no. What is going on? Oh God.
Oh, no.
Oh, God save us all. Oh my God.
Nice.
It's Kim Congdon, resident Puerto Rican roast comedian. Oh no. Oh God. Make some fucking noise for the first ever Kill Tony regular, Kim Congdon.
She's hilarious.
Thank you very much. How we doing, Austin? Hell yeah. My name's Kim Congdon, and I'm one of the first Kill Tony regulars, and I am a Puerto Rican comedian.
Look at his face.
These are my white slaves. And I really wanted to take this opportunity tonight to do something that every Puerto Rican wants to do right now. No, I'm kidding. But I did watch I watched the Trump rally, dude. I watched Tony's speech. I was a little bit upset. I got to tell you, half my blood is Puerto Rican. It's true. Unlike Tony's blood, half of his is HIV.
Yeah, and this goes on, and it gets a little bit raunchier. So I'm gonna pause it before it gets rated R here, in case there's any children in the audience. We do try and keep this generally rated PG, but every once in a while, watch out. And so, yeah, that was Kill Tony's most recent episode, which was filmed live the day after he made that, crazy joke at the Trump rally that he got so much flack for from the media because they tried to make it out like Trump had this racist comedian. Yeah, there's Tony with his amazing Latino and African-American band behind him with the one token white guy and the beautiful Puerto Rican comic that he brought into the family of comedians that
Well, I guess the point here, though, like that I get from this is, what happened to liberals in the left and Democrats? They used to be able to joke and have fun and know what's going on. They used to support raunchy comics. Like, listen to like some old Richard
I remember
Pryor
just
stuff.
before last week that they still supported Latino men. It was until they realized that they voted for Donald Trump.
I know.
No,
Yeah, well,
enemy number one again.
well, right now is because Latino men and black men didn't vote for Kamala, and it's their fault. It's always the white people's fault, though, so we don't have to tell you about that because that's just normal practice, right?
Right. Yeah, true.
Yeah, well, one party is, actively trying to be like, no, we don't care about that stuff, and the other party is like, no, race and sex and all this stuff. It's like, well, if you're constantly thinking about race, you might be a racist. And if you're constantly thinking about sex, and I don't mean like having sex, because if you are constantly thinking about sex, you might be a nympho. But if you're constantly thinking about sex as in biological sex, you're probably a sexist. Like straight up, though. The people who talk most about race, they sound like racists. The people who talk most about sex, feminists, are sexist. Not the old school feminists, but this new kind of feminist thing is just hate men. How is that feminism? I thought feminism was like, no, like we should be able to do everything that a man can, which you can now, except for like, be 180 pounds and bench press over your own weight. Not to be that guy, but
So at least one person is happy about Donald Trump winning the 2024 election, guys. There he is. So the happiest face I've seen on Joe Biden since he spoke after Donald Trump won the 2024 election just last week.
Well, I think
last time he smiled like. And then before that, I don't know when the last time I saw him smile like that.
Mainly, he's happy like this because it's over for him and he has no more responsibilities because it's been hell for him.
I think he's very upset with Kamala too. And their team for pushing him out. And
the first point in this, though,
his fellow Democrats for pushing him out, Pelosi and Clooney and all these guys.
Yeah. So the first point that I was making, though, is he's happy to be out because this was supposed to be his gift for all of his hard work, but it turned out to be a sacrifice. He was being sacrificed to the machine.
Yes, he was.
And then the second point of being happy is like, yeah, he got screwed over and wasn't even allowed to like gracefully step aside. It's like, no, Joe, we got to run you to the very end. We got to run you to the very end. And then, oopsie daisy, there you go, Joe. Sorry, Hey,
Ninja Bat, are our heads still cut off? Are we showing up fine on your screen? It looks like they...
that's fine.
It looks fine. Okay.
Looks fine on my end, Ninja Bat. I'm sorry.
Ninja Bat says, love the vest and dinner jacket, DJ.
Oh, well, hey, we're trying to look better.
Yeah, that's a good look, man. I like it.
So...
Yeah, we're going more formal, guys. So what do you know?
Yeah, we're having... And just for people who are here have seen it, having technical issues, still just making everything go. But we want to have the best show for you here.
New toys, new buttons.
Yeah, that intro, it didn't put no sound out. And I'm like...
What in the heck? Yeah, sorry. We'll get that.
But yeah, we're working on it. But yeah,
back.
So back to Joe. Like
Joe Re Mi So Fa La Ti Do.
Yeah, he got burnied there at the end. He got burnied,
didn't he?
And Joe is a very proud person.
Better to get burnied than to get Clintoned.
Yeah, that should have been the title. The title of tonight: Better to be burnied than Clinton.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that actually leads us into.
Yeah, so. I don't know. Like, yeah, what Joe Biden had to say in that conversation between him and Trump, it did give you a heartwarming feeling, but don't forget. It's like, oh, old Joe, no, don't forget what he has been for his entire career and what he did to us these past 4 years. Fair point. Just kind of like, with like Bush, they're like, oh, he's a painter now and he's actually a very sensitive person. Nah, he's still a war criminal. Like, don't give me that crap. Don't forget.
The Democratic Party.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to get that noise there. I gotta find do you find the spot in this video?
Nah,
here?
they've been
It
watching you
disappeared.
do it anyway because I forgot to do the cutover
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for getting
thing.
that.
New toys.
New toys. Yeah,
but-
you got to see the behind the scenes. It's cool.
Yeah, clicking on YouTube videos. Something familiar.
We doing things over here though. It's happening.
But yeah, so they replaced Joe with Kamala, and Kamala ain't worth nothing. She did nothing these past 4 years, except apparently like be really nasty to all of her staffers. From what I heard, she had quite the turnaround for her staffers as far as like people didn't want to work for her because she was just really mean and nasty. And you can see that too. Like she got real mean and nasty with Charlemagne the God one time. I remember she was on his channel and he questioned her about something or another, and she got that whole like, nah, you don't talk to me that way, and this is what you're gonna do. Like, particularly when she starts pointing her finger.
Yeah, it's not.
And the sad thing is, I got friends that voted for Kamala, and they'll tell me it's like, well, I think she was just a better option. You ask why, and it's like they can't give you a why other than maybe like, well, maybe we could have pushed her to do the things that we want her to do. It's like, but I mean, you guys have had 4 years to do that with Biden, and she was the vice president. It's like, like the thing is
And
Trump.
she said she was very closely involved with all the work the policies that they were pushing, the changes they
Yeah.
were making, the
Oh,
work they
yeah.
were doing.
Well, and frankly, like I think Trump may not have won if they didn't Bernie RFK either. Because like they're like, oh no, we want this Kamala. It's like, well, the wise thing would have been
Democrats could have had
is to,
RFK if they hadn't stained his image and made up so much crap about
or
him.
they could have at least allowed Joe Biden and RFK to primary. And
Really?
like all the other people to primary. They didn't even have a primary. You had a presidential candidate
It's
on
like
the
they
Democratic ticket who
purposefully
wasn't
waited
primaried.
so that it would be too late to primary and they could just pick her.
That's exactly what it was. And a lot of people were calling that too before it was happening. They're like,
Yeah, I feel bad for Democrat voters that did not get to pick a candidate this year because their least liked candidate when she ran before versus Biden and the rest of the Democratic candidate, potential hopefuls. She did not get one primary vote. She was dead last. So, not the great, Kamala Harris, instead of someone like Tulsi Gabbard, instead of, Bernie Sanders, instead of,
I mean, even
you see-
Gavin Newsom would have done better than Kamala Harris.
I agree.
So
So here's, and speaking of Bernie Sanders, here's a clip of Bernie on CNN making actually pretty valid point. And it's kind of funny to see these conversations happening on CNN now, right? Because it's like they've suddenly flipped the script because they're just spewing viewership like crazy.
well, they have to. They're forced to. They're also firing a lot of people, but they're being
Yes,
forced
they
to
are.
because they can no longer hide behind the fallacy of expert or accredited or credibility or anything because their credibility has dried up, and it dried up months ago. Like this new CNN shift is months old at this
Well,
point.
here, check out this article here. Show this. So there it is. CNN, well, axe top stars in layoff that sees hundreds fired. CNN is planning to wield an axe on some of its high-paid staff after dismal election ratings that cap off a disastrous period for the cable news network. According to an explosive new report from Puck, network executives will unleash sweeping layoffs in a bid to save the network's flailing reputation. It comes after the departure of stalwart Chris Wallace, and amid reports senior stars like Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper have both been denied raises. There is no mention of who may be on the chopping block. Highest paid stars include Anderson Cooper, who rakes in $20 million a year.
Wasn't he a
Aaron
CIA
Burnett,
asset?
$6 million, and rising star Caitlin Collins, $3 million.
How is Caitlin? No, Caitlin Collins isn't a
Rising
rising
star.
star. Caitlin Collins is the chick that got
According to
snarky
MSN,
with Trump during
there,
a town
yeah,
hall.
Rising star. So much for actual ethical journalism. I mean, it sounds like an editorial. It sounds
What
like
is
an
that? The
opinion
Daily
piece.
Mail?
No, this is MSN. MSN
Hold on.
News.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Go up real quick for me though. Just let me check.
Oh no, it was from the Daily Mail.
Yeah,
You're
Daily
right.
Mail
That's
story
right.
by Alex
Yeah.
Hammer.
That's right. Yep. So they're pulling it from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
well-
and then check now Biden saying what he has to
Bernie.
say, or I'm sorry.
It's
Biden.
hard,
Yeah, it's hard.
Politician.
It's been a long day. Here we go.
Look, you can have an argument with Rogan, agree with him, disagree with him, but what's the problem going on in those shows? It's hard for me to understand that. So I think we've got to get, and clearly you have an alternative media out there, a lot of podcasts that have millions and millions of viewers. Get on the show. Disagree with you here. I agree with you there. I don't see a problem in doing that. And you're right. I got vilified by some of the Democratic establishment because I went on Rogan's show. Now a lot of other people are doing just that.
Yep. Fair point, Bernie. Fair point.
Yeah, well,
Even Bernie's still making sense sometimes.
well, Bernie got
Yeah,
burned, man.
I was a Bernie guy before, man, and then after he lost to Hillary, and when he gave all his delegates over, that was the first time he betrayed all of his voters, saying he said he'd never give over his votes to Hillary, but he did. And then we thought he was going to run independent, and like RFK did, and leave the party, but he didn't. He stayed with them, and then all of a sudden he got down with the far radical left, which is no better than the far radical right. They're both just as loony as the other. So yeah, that was Bernie Sanders on CNN with Dana Bash.
Just telling it as it, and he's not even saying nothing like too terribly extreme. It's just kind of like, yeah, obvious.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's the thing is like, the people on the left, politicians and news people that are coming around and saying stuff, are they expecting us to go, oh, wow, I didn't know? It's like, no, like everybody knew that everybody knew it was your what you're up to. That's why your ratings tank, CNN
but the
and
people,
MSNBC. And
the people didn't know. I mean, they were hearing all this crap from MSNBC and CNN and ABC and all of them.
They started
about
figuring
people
it
like
out
Joe
pretty quick.
Rogan is this far right guy and this and that. Joe Rogan is a liberal.
Yep.
He's got some things that he's like, Second Amendment, but I think that's about it. He formally endorsed Bernie Sanders, and if you guys don't believe that, here's a video from 4 years ago that shows that very fact. Here we are.
Bernie Sanders has gained an unlikely endorsement. Popular podcast host and TV personality Joe Rogan.
And he
And
had
it
hair.
set the internet on fire. Rogan said on his
These are old
podcast
pictures
that
of
he
Rogan.
will probably vote for Bernie and that the senator from Vermont has been consistent throughout his career. Bernie supporters criticized him for accepting the endorsement due to previous controversial
I didn't remark controversial. What are they? What are the controversial things that Rogan said that you won't mention?
Yeah, well, not much.
Mm-mm.
I mean, like,
And go back one more time real fast, just so you guys can see that, this was indeed,
4
a
years
thing
ago.
this happened. Bernie was on Rogan's podcast, and
Well,
they
yeah.
had a great conversation.
Well, what makes you far right now and controversial is if you actually like and he's not even a journalist, but be a journalist and ask follow-up questions and dig in and try to get to the core of what somebody's saying and press them a little bit. Not being hostile, and Joe Rogan's pretty good about not being hostile to his guests. But Kamala not going on Rogan's podcast, it's Kamala wanted to be able to cut sections out, or her team wanted to be able to cut sections
wanted
out
to
of it and edit it and do all that.
They only wanted it
nonsense.
to be an hour. They wanted him to come to her, even though she went to everyone else's podcast that she went on. She went to their studios.
Yeah,
And
well,
he said, no, we don't cut, and you got to do it here at the studio.
yeah, and do it live. And
They're trying to ask him last minute to come fly to them as though they were the ones that, had a higher profile.
yeah,
And unfortunately, no, sorry guys, you
nah,
don't in
nah.
this case. So, and Ninja Bat made a great point here. Only her handlers can tell her what to do.
I don't even know if I can believe that. I think it's just kind of like if you've ever tried to wrangle cows into a cow crusher, which is it makes them go single file to either if you have to do something to them, treat their face or do something like that, or get them one at a time in a truck. It's more like that. You get enough people, you can get them to run around in the circles and then scoop them up with the, this little gate thing that you move in the round enclosure, but it's still herding cows and they're angry and they don't want to be crushed. The one thing I will give her is she's tenacious when she's angry. And, she obviously did somehow fight her way to the top of what she could have done.
Sure.
one way or another, you know, and I'm not going to get in all the ways because this is a relatively family friendly show, but
we want people of character. And, you know, I think a great female candidate, of course, would have been, well, in the past, when we were offered Obama and Hillary Clinton, I think Cynthia McKinney would have been great. And then, of course, now Tulsi Gabbard. Clearly.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard actually would have won, but the thing is she wouldn't have gone with this crazy mumbo jumbo that the Democrats have been up to for a while now and leading towards.
No, but let's get back to Tulsi in a moment. And first, let's just finish off here. Here's another conversation on CNN. I couldn't find the actual video on YouTube anywhere, but Jimmy Dore show actually reviewed it. I think the day or the day after this particular segment released. CNN, I think, has now, you know, deleted it, but we still have record of it, thank God. And so here are guest hosts Russell Dabular and Keaton Weiss talking on the CNN clip. This is hilarious as well. Check this.
I wanted to ask him about Joe Rogan is because in the days since the election, you've heard a lot of Democrats saying, we need to find our own Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was their Joe Rogan.
There you have it.
And so the
Joe Rogan was basically a Bernie supporter.
He was.
He's a Bernie bro, dude.
And so the question
It's funny.
It's too late.
It's funny. 5 years later.
Said that.
Funny.
Let's go back.
Rogan, days since the election, you've heard a lot of Democrats saying, we need to find our own Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was their Joe Rogan.
There you have it.
And so the
Joe Rogan was basically a Bernie supporter.
He was.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so with that is like, you know, there was this, you know, I don't know if it was, I think it was an article and then responses to it, but like, why don't we have our Tucker Carlson and our Daily Wire and our Joe Rogans and our Tim Pools and all that stuff? It's like, well, other than like Daily Wire and Tucker Carlson and that the right wing types, which are right wing, you did have your Jimmy Dores and your Tim Pools and your Joe Rogans, and you had them. You pushed them away, or you pushed them over and then ran away. And
Tim Pool was one of the founding members of Vice, and then he went and worked for another Disney news company later on.
Well, yeah, what was it, Fusion or something like that?
Fusion, that's the one.
Well, and the
That's
thing
one.
is Tim Pool is still the same quote unquote milquetoast fence sitter that he has always been. He's
a Trump
moderate
voter now,
center left.
but Trump is quite a moderate candidate. He's a Democrat from 25 years
Trump
ago.
isn't even far right. Like, I'm sorry, he's just not.
He's not, guys.
Like, if you want to look
You've
at,
been
like,
told he is. And
Yeah,
things have
well,
been
of
clipped out
course.
to make it appear as though he is. But watch our last episode and see the examples of how not racist Trump actually is. You might
Well,
actually be pleasantly
mind you,
surprised if you can stomach
far right
it.
doesn't mean
'Cause
racist. I want to
good
correct
news.
that.
Well, okay, but a lot of of course,
there's racists on the left
racists
and
are-
the right.
are-
I'm sorry.
Of course, we got that too. But yeah, far right is a whole slew of other things
Well,
as well. But
he's not even like super tiny government. Well, he is more now because he's been tacked by the machine. But before he wasn't. He was playing the government game too. And yet there's certain things that can be cut. No, he's a businessman. He is on the right, like as far as economy and business goes, because you know when he was doing his own stuff, he'd rather the government stay out of his way. Let me pay you my taxes,
But
and
right
you stay out of my
shouldn't
way.
be synonymous with bad. He's just a
Well,
little bit
no,
more conservative fiscally.
Well,
right?
and also he's actually relatively liberal socially and politically speaking. You know, he's always been on the edge of like house the poor, like help out with stuff like that. He was the philanthropist billionaire.
Yeah,
You know, the left's golden child,
Yeah.
if you will. You know, like, but he just decided that he wasn't going to play game the way they wanted to play game.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't want shorter term limits on abortions. He is. We can go on and on and on here, but we just did this last episode. But check this out. So here's a little bit more of that CNN panel talking on the Joe Rogan experience. Oops, sorry, I got to get the sound back. Here we go.
And I wanted to sort of illuminate this, shine a light on this with my interview with Senator Sanders, was that to me is such a prime example of where Democrats have kind of lost those people. Now, the point I was making with him is that there are a lot of things that Joe Rogan says and believes that a lot of Democrats just totally shun. He's said not great things about some social issues that Democrats don't agree with.
Like he doesn't believe in intersex cage fighting, I guess. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, right.
I guess so.
Or that boys can be girls and girls can be boys.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Well, and the thing is he's not anti-trans. He's made it very clear that he's like, look, I got trans friends and that's fine, but it's a problem when you bring it into sports and when you force it on children. That's a pretty moderate idea.
Yeah, I have to concur with that.
It's actually a quite liberal idea if you remove progressives from the equation, because the real big issue here is we're equating progressives with liberals, and progressives are not liberals. Let's be clear about that. The early progressives in American, American progressives, they were eugenicists. They were okay with sterilizing black people. Like Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood. She wanted to exterminate the black race.
No,
in
that
her
doesn't
own
mean
words.
that
She was a progressive.
The Democratic Party to go in positive progressive directions is a bad thing, and that modern progressives should be equated with the prior progressives by any means. But because there was great people that were a part of the progressive movement, such as RFK, such as Brett and Eric Weinstein,
it's
and
like
people like that.
Well, it's like conservative. There are good conservatives, there are bad conservatives, but it goes in a direction that you can track.
Progressive, it shouldn't even be far left. The progressives in America, modern progressivism, has also been swallowed by the far left.
I actually this is hard because European left and right is different than American left and right, and it's always changing, right? Yeah. But when I say progressive is the far end of the left. Now, the left isn't just, you can't say that there's only liberals on the left or liberalism only exists on the left. That's just not true. Liberalism can exist on the right, and conservatism can exist on the left to a certain degree. Not so much because liberal and conservative aren't opposites,
right? Yeah,
and we tend to think of them as opposites because libertarian is down, liberal is down.
Different concentrations,
and so right, like an anarchist, the pure anarchist would be a liberal rightist, like a far right liberal. Because it's libertarian, it's down, and it's far right as far as we don't want the man, we don't want the government telling us what to do, and but the progressive end though tends to be
look at a political chart, guys. That would be helpful.
The progressive end is want to move and change and is very revolutionary and always is. Now it could be a good revolution. Like an artistic revolution.
And there can be wise
or something.
progressives. There can be good progressives. We've had many of them in recent history. But most of the progressives of the left side were against the war in Iraq, for instance. And they were very much a part of stopping that war. As soon as libertarians and conservatives and independents and everyone else and veterans from all previous wars started to join, it really blew up. But that was very much a progressive movement.
But what are you trying to progress into? Is the
free
question.
Speech is a very progressive idea.
Well,
progressive liberal idea. Pretty radical.
It was in its time, but now it's actually a conservative ideal, as in we should be able to say what we need to say.
Mm-hmm. So there's good sides to conservatism and liberalism, and there's good sides to progressivism, and
I'm still worried about that end though. I don't know if I believe that.
You have to be, but I
that's don't know
because
if I believe that progressivism is something that's worth continuing. I think we should be very careful with that because it's like jumping forward too fast, not knowing what you're getting into.
Well, sure, but that's why you don't just have progressivism. You need to have conservatism to balance out the progressivism of liberalism. Liberalism is a profoundly great and wise ideal that has given humanity so much. And we call ourselves a liberal Western democracy because that's what we are. But we are also a republic, and there is a balance there that needs to be maintained. We are here in this, we are focusing in on how to best operate together as a society, and we need this opponent process for that to work. But yeah, DJ's raising a fine point about the history of progressivism, which is something else that is fascinating to look into because it can turn into Marxism. It can turn into fascism.
Well, and actually before it turns into Marxism turns into communism, it turns into fascism because communism actually hasn't ever been done, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, my whole thing is I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't trust progressivism. I don't.
Right.
At all.
But I know a lot of progressives that I do trust.
Yes.
Or at least past progressives nowadays.
I'm also watching them become more liberal and less progressive as we go.
That's because what was progressive, 20 years ago is becoming the norm, and the good sides of it are become the norm. I mean, the anti-war movement has been adopted by the conservative right.
But you could also say that, the
conservative right has definitely progressed into a new direction.
Well, you could say that, confusing children about biological sex, sexuality, and all that stuff, and talking to children was a very progressive thing, and now it's becoming the norm in too many schools.
I would call that regressive.
Well, now in hindsight,
and that's what has happened to the modern progressive movement, is become regressive.
Well, but yes, so that was progressive, and how progressive you do believe that? Yeah, no, it's fine, But now that we see is like, oh man, damn, that was a really bad idea messing with.
It was labeled as progressive, is what I'm saying. It's like modern progressivism, and the people that have been involved in it don't know the history of progressivism before. They're not associated with that. Most of those people were just well-meaning, normal people that saw that the Democrats had been taken over by corporate interests and wanted it to stop shifting in a fascistic direction and come back home to supporting liberal values. So they were progressive for thinking that the Democrats should act like Democrats. But yeah, of course, there's a crazy history behind all belief systems, and we certainly need one another to balance ourselves out.
I guess when it comes to progressiveness and progression, is the question needs to be asked: progressing towards what and at what cost?
What we're simplifying,
and I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, what we're actually doing right now, though, is we're showing how to have a nuanced conversation about a difficult topic.
Yeah, I don't trust progressives.
I wish more people would engage this way with their friends and family, and we can still love each other amidst the conversation. So here's a little bit more of Jimmy Dore guest hosts watching this CNN clip here. Let's go back to this. Check this out.
Out into the fields.
He doesn't support vaccines, and so that is part of the reason why when Bernie Sanders went on the show,
that's a lie. That a doctor told him to take. Vaccines. That's another big no-no.
Yeah.
He took a medicine. I won't say what it is. I don't know what the rules are over there.
The Mectin.
But he took a medicine that his doctor told him. No, but they got to clip it for YouTube. So they took a medicine that the doctor told him to take. That's a big no-no. That's a big no-no.
Flintstones vitamins.
Yeah, right. Flintstones vitamins. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so that was the other sin.
Oh, he got vilified. But him getting vilified by a lot of people on the left is
like your own station.
Case in point of the intolerance among a lot of people in the Democratic Party.
Ooh, you hear that? Isn't that crazy to hear on CNN? So they're flipping the script right now. They're trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, but the thing is, she still did mention he's anti-vax. He's not anti-vax. Him and his children are up to the MMRs or DPTs, all that stuff. Fine, those are vaccines. We're talking about the COVID-19 vaccination, which is actually a gene therapy.
Yeah, because they're slowly walking back.
Because the mRNA, it's a messenger molecule, and what is a gene? A gene is enough information to create a protein. Well, the spike protein, that's what it gave you the information when they put it in your arm. That RNA was supposed to stay in your arm and produce spike proteins, so your body could get used to the cytotoxic spike proteins. What ended up happening, and what we're finding, is it got into the bloodstream. It got into little kids' livers. It went all over the place, and maybe later on we're going to get into the excess deaths and all the stuff that people are finding, because now there is data. Now that it is finally taking its time, because early on there wasn't the data. Yeah. Now that we have the data, we can look into it, and it's like, well, damn. So when they say that Joe Rogan was anti-vax, that's BS, man. Straight up, and that's what they'll use. They'll say stuff, and they'll pretend like they're coming over, but they still use the same line. Oh, well, didn't you hear Joe Rogan is anti-vax? I'm like, I remember when anti-vax were the super conservative Christian type. They were like, no, God's going to heal my kid and do all that stuff, and we're not going to give him any. Now, being anti-vax is just being like, I don't trust this untested thing that you want to put in my body.
Yeah, right. So there's more to this clip, so let's go back here and see what else.
That their whole mission is to be tolerant.
Well, and isn't that kind of a central piece of the conversation Democrats are having now about why this happened?
It is, and that's precisely why. Now, Bernie.
This is blowing my mind.
Senator Sanders.
This is so crazy. Yeah, it's blowing my mind too. Let's go back and hear this a little bit.
Sin.
The people on the left is case in point of the intolerance among a lot of people in the Democratic Party who claim that their whole mission is to be tolerant.
Well, and isn't that kind of a central piece of the conversation Democrats are having now
Tolerance
about
doesn't mean
why
tolerant.
this happened?
It is, and that's precisely why. Now, Bernie.
This is blowing my mind.
Senator
I covered the
Sanders.
man.
I haven't actually seen
really
it.
long time. Everybody calls him Bernie, but I agree with you. We're sitting in Washington, so it should be Senator.
His whole thing is our policies are not geared toward the working people. We went back and forth on that because President Biden's policies were geared toward the working people
No, they weren't.
in a lot of ways.
No, they weren't.
Unless you were a railroad working person.
They never were. This is what is revealed by this election is that 2020 was the fluke, not 2016. 2016
Yeah, I
was
think that
actually
Biden would have gotten
the
the votes if the case was that he actually had helped
So
lower income workers so
like
well.
with that too is don't let people tell you it's like, oh well, the Democrats lost because they weren't for the the middle class people anymore. That was a component of it, but really this election was a rejection of all this ultra progressive nonsense. Whether it's the boys going into girls' bathrooms and men being able to beat up women in the Olympics, who that Khalif guy or whatever his name was, or her name now is his. Turns out that was a male. He just had a micro penis and non-descended testicles. So in his country, they're like, you're a girl because you're ashamed for a boy. Still a male.
Let's call it extremists left. Let's call it what it is, because that's basically what it is. It's another form of extremism. It's a
Commie
crazy form of
gobbledygook.
extremism.
What's the comedian who used to say that? Whatever, people will know. But no, this is a rebuke of all that nonsense that's coming out of the Ivy League schools that has infected and frankly was the weapon of the Soviet Union implanted. The Soviet Union didn't last long enough to see it happen and grow into the tree that it is now. But that's what it is, and we don't want that anymore. We're not saying that we don't like trans people and we don't like gay people and we don't like people who are different. What we're saying is we don't want that crap that focuses on, oh, I have to treat you differently because you're gay or you're a different race or
treat everybody like a human being.
You're another human. If you're good to me, I'm good to you.
You're a fellow Earthling.
Like,
yeah, it's that simple. It's that simple.
That used to be the liberal thing, like, hey, just leave everybody alone to be them. Right now it's the conservative end, like leave everybody alone to be them. And then when you get to ultra conservative, it's like, well, there's the moralistic issues of homosexuality and trans and all that stuff, and that was be further right. But most of us, even the further right people, the Daily Wire people, are still pretty close to the center, or at least what the center used to be.
Yeah.
Because the Overton window keeps shifting left.
We are the radical center, fam.
Yeah, the radical center.
So check this
Radically
out.
center.
Tulsi Gabbard. This is a great post from Libs of TikTok. They put Tulsi Gabbard on a terror watch list quite recently. This was months before the election. Now she's director of national intelligence. They did this because they saw her starting to show support for Donald Trump and to speak against the wokeism. Now she is director of national intelligence.
And
the
maybe
biggest FU to the deep state swamp ever.
And maybe they didn't want her to be able to travel and campaign with them. Maybe.
And here's the statement from President Donald Trump on his announcement. I am pleased to announce that former Congress... Hold on a second. Let me zoom this in, guys. See if I can do that on this. Oh, it's not letting me. Sorry, fam.
Oh, goodness. We'll read it to you, though. But you can see the little slip of...
You can see the little piece of paper.
Digital paper.
Yeah, anyways. So, I'm pleased to announce that former Congresswoman Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard will serve as Director of National Intelligence, DNI, for over 2 decades. Tulsi has fought for our country and the freedoms of all Americans. As a former candidate for the Democrat presidential nomination, she has brought support in both parties. She is now a proud Republican. I know Tulsi will bring the fearless spirit that has defined her illustrious career to our intelligence community, championing our constitutional rights and securing peace through strength. Tulsi will make us all proud. If you guys have any doubts about this, you think that she's just an opportunist or something of the like, go ahead and go to her YouTube or her Instagram, watch a few of her videos, listen to her speak. Better yet, go and watch a long podcast that she's on and see her speak at length and get to know that human being and get to know her reasoning and see how appalling she is after that to you.
Yeah, and to be fair and honest as well, just, like I told you guys, I don't trust the progressives. I didn't trust Tulsi either. And Chris can attest to this, because he's been an appreciator of Tulsi longer than I have. And but she has proven herself to be, if she is a snake in the grass, she's a beneficial snake in the grass.
She isn't a snake in the grass. I followed her for years.
I'm also
I'm really good at picking these people up.
I'm a snake zodiac, and the earth snakes.
There's good snakes.
You benefit. Something needs to eat the rats.
I think she's more water, though, man. She feels a lot more water.
Oh, watch out for the water snakes.
So check out Tulsi's biography. 4-term Congresswoman, 2020 presidential candidate, New York Times bestselling author, Tulsi Gabbard is a veteran with 3 deployments to war zones in the Middle East and Africa. She has served in uniform for more than 2 decades, is currently a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, serving as battalion commander of the 1354 Regiment in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and leads her nonprofit organization, We Must Protect. Tulsi first served in elected office in the Hawaii State House of Representatives when she was 21 years old. Due to the attacks on 9/11, she enlisted in the Army National Guard. In 2004, she gave up an easy re-election campaign and volunteered to deploy in Iraq with the 29th Brigade Combat Team, where she served as a medical in a medical unit. After returning home in 2006, Tulsi worked in the U.S. Senate as a legislative aide to the late Senator Danny Akaka, who was chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. She then volunteered for a second Middle East deployment as a platoon leader. Having experienced firsthand the true cost of war, Tulsi ran for the United States Congress at age 31, vowing to honor the lives and sacrifice of her brothers and sisters in uniform. She prevailed in a difficult election and went on to serve in Congress for 8 years as a member of the Armed Services, Homeland Security, and Foreign Affairs Committees. Foregoing a run for re-election to Congress in 2020, she ran for president as a Democrat.
Yep.
In October 2022, Tulsi announced she was leaving the Democrat Party, becoming an independent. She puts country before party and approaches every issue, domestic and foreign, based on ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Tulsi Gabbard's first book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind, was released in April 30, 2024, and hit number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list the following week. August 26 of 2024, Tulsi formally endorsed President Trump for a second term and soon after began serving as co-chair of his transition team. On October 22, 2024, LTC Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard joined the Republican Party because of President Trump's leadership and how he has been able to transform the Republican Party, bringing it back to the party of the people and the party of peace. This is a profound change that we're seeing occur right now in our country. And this is good news, guys. We're seeing a renewed Republican Party, and it's not the far-right monsters that people that vote conservatively or particularly for Donald Trump are being depicted as by the mainstream media and the algorithms that you are scrolling through, that we are all addicted to on our smartphones.
Yeah, and it needs to happen because the Republican Party, if for whoever cares for the Republican Party, needs to have the neocon rhino, the Republicans in name only folk, relegated to a fringe minority within the party, and the more peace, freedom, American ideals portion of the party needs to grow. And yeah, you are going to see, trailblazers and hellraisers within that change, like Matt Gaetz. I think Matt Gaetz is going to be the attorney general now. Perfect dude for it. Yeah. The left hates Matt Gaetz, and I understand why, because he's the guy that's going to sit up there and grill people about what's going on. He's sharp, he's smart, he's got a foul mouth if you've ever seen him, on a podcast. But these people actually care about the country, and they're, and I hate to say it, but young enough to have to think about themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. Whereas like, I'm not crapping on old people, but when you're ruled by the completely aged, like, what are we, like, most of our politicians are like 70 plus years old now. What do they care about the next generations? They got theirs. There's Nancy Pelosi don't care.
It's funny that Trump is such an anomaly in that group.
I know. Well, because one thing is he has a very young son. Well, who's just going in. The other thing is like
he worked in real estate. He worked with construction workers.
And he's a second generation immigrant or family. Like his parents immigrated here, and then other stuff. And also, maybe he cares about people, but we need young blood. Like the old and the young need to fight with each other to make the future. But I think the old has had a little too much power.
Well, the baby boomers have held Congress and presidency for way too long. It's definitely time for someone of Gen X to get in there. It's long overdue. In fact, like 10 years overdue.
And
particularly in
when they took over from their previous generations, it was necessary. It's just I think they stayed too long.
They stayed too long.
Which brings up other arguments.
Yeah. So check this. From Island News, Hawaii lawmakers demand the TSA explain Tulsi Gabbard's inclusion on the terrorist watch list. Here we are from Honolulu, Island News. Some Hawaii lawmakers are calling on the Director of Transportation Security Administration, TSA, for answers as to why former state Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is included on a suspected terrorist watch list. Rep. Jean Ward, Republican of District 18, a bunch of people spoke on this on Sunday. All these representatives from Hawaii, it looks like. In the letter, the Hawaii representatives accused the TSA of including Gabbard on the Quiet Skies program watch list without explanation. They also claim air marshals have harassed Gabbard and her husband on multiple flights. Jeez.
We need to do an investigation. Is who's the head honcho that signed off on that?
Why is this happening?
Husband on flights.
Now, we reached out to the TSA for comment, and a spokesperson told us in part that its Quiet Skies program uses a risk-based approach to identify passengers and apply enhanced security measures. Now, it would not confirm or deny whether Gabbard's on that list.
And Gabbard told us in a statement, the real pain this has caused is the stress of forever looking over my shoulder, wondering if and how I am being watched.
It could be a cruel and
secret
unusual
terror
punishment.
watch list I'm on and having no transparency or due process. It's not just about me. Every American has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They have taken that away from me and my family.
Well, the process is the punishment, right?
Wow.
No, like for real though, the process is the punishment. It's they're going to. Okay, yeah, she hasn't been arrested or anything else like that, but I'm going to keep poking you and poking you and poking you.
Look at this.
And I see you, Ninja Bat. Watch it with the age discriminate. Man, you ain't even that old. Like compared to our, you're still young. Don't give me that crap.
Listen, look at this quote, man. Sir, please remember this is the United States of America, and you have not even stated why such a dastardly label has been attached to and besmirched her good name. The group wrote in part in a letter to Pekoski. As members of the Hawaii State House of Representatives listed below, we strongly urge you to immediately withdraw her name from the Quiet Skies program and or provide full public transparency of the TSA's reasons for maligning her name and reputation.
And I want to expand that. We want to know who is the person who signed off on that.
Wow. Well, whoever this Pekoski guy is.
We have the new DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. We need like a DOGE, the Department of Government Transparency, the GOAT. Wait, hold on.
The DOGE?
The Department of Government Transparency, the DOGT. We need that as well because.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, well, we want it efficient and we want it transparent. If you sign off on something and we find out that you signed off on that thing, like every time somebody signs off on something that isn't, a national security, what do you call it?
Issue or.
Well, no, as far as you got to hide the information because it'll make the. They stamp it across the top.
Like top secret?
No, we're not top secret, but whatever that is, words. As long as it's not classified. As long as it's not classified for a good reason, we should know who's the person who signed off on this that said, "Oh no, we need to target Tulsi," or we need to, like who in the FBI was the person to say that we need to target Christians and people who are buying Bibles and other stuff, specifically Catholics, not just any
Tulsi's
Christians.
response to this is clearly an act of political retaliation. It's no accident that I was placed on the Quiet Skies list the day after I did a primetime interview warning the American people about why Kamala Harris would be bad for our country if elected as president and commander-in-chief. That's right, I remember this. What hurts me the most is the fact that, like so many Americans, I enlisted because of the terrorist attacks on 9/11, deployed to war zones to go after those terrorists, still serve in the U.S. Army for over 21 years, and now my government is surveilling me as a potential domestic terrorist. The real pain this has caused is the stress of forever looking over my shoulder. They just read this, but man, wondering if and how I am being watched, what secret terror watch list I'm on, having no transparency or due process. It's not just about me. Every American has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They have taken that away from me and my family.
And they'll take it away from your family too. If they can do it to her, they're going to do it to you. No, for real,
God,
though.
man.
And
political retaliation clearly was political retaliation, just like the lawfare against RFK.
And if they'll do it to their own, and I'm speaking specifically about the Democrats, so for our Democratic friends, if you're politically active within your party, know this. If they can do it to their own on this level, they're going to do it to you. So you need to like start, if you want to stay in the Democratic Party, and we need people to, you need to force the change.
Yeah.
Because what's going on right now, this is like, you know, like I hate to say it, but this, like, you know, they say like Trump is Hitler and all this stuff. This is the closest thing to National Socialism and fascism that I have.
If Trump is Hitler,
oh yeah,
why? Why is Biden so happy? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well,
why did they have such a good conversation? Why is he being so reasonable with this guy that is a fascist and is going to be a dictator? On day one, he said it. He's going to be a dictator, and say he wasn't talking tongue in cheek. People really believe that this is what's happening right now. We have been sold a bill of goods, guys, and it's bunk. It's not real.
Yeah, and
y'all are late to this activism game. I'm sorry. You're LARPing. This is not. Do your homework, please. God, challenge your own conceptions. Look at independent and conservative news. You're going to have to look at the people like Tim Pool and Jimmy Dore and Russell Brand. You're going to have to look at Kamala Harris and RFK and hear them speak for themselves as to why they are supporting Donald Trump now. You've got to really do a deep dive, and at least to prepare yourself to be able to better debate all these crazy people out there that are going right-wing and supporting a racist and this and that. Because, you know, I got to say, I was happily surprised to find out that the Republican Party is actually on a surprisingly good track, and Donald Trump is not a racist or an authoritarian, and everything that everyone is so afraid of happening is not actually going to happen. Just watch, wait and see. He might make some policy decisions that you disagree with, but
well, you know, that's
wait and see if the guy's an actual authoritarian.
Well, and also set yourself up, instead of just hating the person, only focusing on the fact of hating the person. Get rid of that so you can start paying attention to, like, when things are going that you don't agree with, you can actually articulate what you don't agree with, opposed to just making an excuse like, well, I just don't like the guy and I haven't liked the guy, or, you know, just screw the Democratic Party because of whatever. It's like, no, you need to be able to articulate the policies that are giving you the problems, because if not, and and I don't mean just to other people, but to yourself, you know, it's like, what is it that I don't like? You know, like there's a lot of things I don't like. I don't like the usage of force against American citizens by the U.S. government. Now, mind you, I do realize that in certain circumstances that is necessary. But you can say, okay, where's the line? Let's discuss the line. I think you pushed the line too far. Instead of, I hate
together.
you.
Yeah, we got to figure these things out together.
You know?
We got to calibrate. So we got to stop demeaning and dehumanizing one another. It's the stupidest game. It's been played a million times over. I would hope that our species would have learned the lesson by now. At least now we have the internet, so we can have a global conversation about it. Yes, we have different cultures and we have different beliefs and we have different opinions on things.
Yeah.
Let's see what works best for one and all.
Yeah, well, let's watch the actions. Like Ninja Bat was saying, it's like, you know, we're talking about it now. Now we have the ability to act on it. So we better act on it and start watching.
We can watch all the talks. I want to see action. Yeah, I feel that, Ninja Bat. On point, man.
No, for real. Because like,
absolutely,
politics is talking the good game until people forget that there's supposed to be a follow-up, you know, the action behind it.
Yeah.
And frankly, actually, in my lifetime, Trump was the only president that actually, and mind you, he is hamstringed by a lot of stuff, but actually did quite a few things that he said he was going to do. You know, we got peace in the Middle East for, you know,
no new wars.
We got American energy independence. We actually got the border under control. And not just the southern border, but also just, you know, willy-nilly immigration to the United States in general.
China wasn't pushing up on Taiwan. Russia wasn't pushing up on Ukraine.
And now, mind you, there's a bunch of other crap that he promised
and
that
we were
didn't
paying
happen. But
$2 a gallon for gas.
Oh, dude, actually, it got
places
under.
it
It got
did for a
under
minute,
$2
actually. I
where I
remember
was at.
186 or
Oh,
189 at
dude,
one
that
point.
was so good. It reminded me of like the late '90s, early 2000s. I was like, man.
So, as well as Tulsi Gabbard being nominated to Director of Intelligence, we also have an announcement here about the great Elon Musk working in conjunction with American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy will lead Vivek.
No,
or
Vivek.
Vivek, that's right. Vivek. Sorry.
Everybody says it wrong.
Kamala Tomato will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, together. These two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to the Save America movement. If Democrats were doing this, everyone would love it. Because Trump is doing it, they hate it. All of a sudden, bureaucracy is great. All the waste is just fine. Trillions of dollars that just go unaccounted for and missing, like September 10th, 2001.
Yeah,
when,
right.
2 trillion or so went missing from the IRS. Yeah. This will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste, which is a lot of people, stated Mr. Musk. It will become potentially the Manhattan Project of our time. Republican politicians have dreamed about the objectives of DOGE for a very long time. To drive this kind of drastic change, the Department of Government Efficiency will provide advice and guidance from outside of government, and it will partner with the White House and Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before since our founding fathers, I would add. I look forward to Elon and Vivek making changes to the federal bureaucracy with an eye on efficiency and at the same time making life better for all Americans. Importantly, we will drive out the massive waste and fraud which exists throughout our annual $6.5 trillion of government spending. They will work together to liberate our economy and make the U.S. government accountable to we the people. I think something like almost half of our debt is just going towards paying off the interest at this point.
Oh, yeah. Here, let me remove us again so if you can see it there. The 6.5 trillion of government spending. Yeah, there's the significant portion of it is just repaying or just paying off our debt. And well, then the other most significant portion is paying for all the sick people that our food is poisoning, and then defense, and then the food that's poisoning us. Like, for real though.
Wow. So their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. A smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy will be the perfect gift to America on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I'm confident they will succeed. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah. A smaller government. Why would an authoritarian want a smaller government?
Yeah, right. Well, because then there's less people that are going to keep them in check.
I don't understand. It doesn't math.
Yeah. No. Well, 2 + 2 = 5.
The math does not math. Oh, unless, okay, you got to pretend. Okay, I got you.
And actually, that was a thing that the Maoists said, and basically it was 2 years of production, or, basically like, in 4 years' time, the communists can do 5 years worth of production. So 2 + 2 = 5. Yeah, that's what they're telling us, and you better believe them because they're the experts.
I wonder if Trump will provide unemployment. Probably. He's pretty moderate. I think that might stay, but it will maybe be a little bit more optimized, better employed. So now we get to some of the disturbing stuff that has been happening lately on the interwebs here. People calling for all kinds of, a lot of threatening speeches being made against those that voted for Trump right now. And
basically it's stuff that only the left can get away with right now.
Yeah, dark stuff here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Didn't want to put this at the front of the podcast. We're going to cover this now at the end. because it's some of the heavier stuff that this is adult material, guys. So let's go ahead and jump on over.
And people of color and poor people and gay people and all the people that I care about aren't going to be safe in America. Neither the fuck are you guys. Just because you won doesn't mean we don't remember who the fuck you voted for.
Yeah, this is not the purge, girl.
You're not in the clear. And just please don't test your gangster on me.
And sorry, guys, you might have to turn your volume up on this one.
Turn it up a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because you will end on a stretcher.
Wow.
Gone forever.
Wow.
So serious. Nobody fucking talk to me unless you want to swing. If you want to fight,
wow.
Text me, call me, whatever. Anybody else, stay
That's incitement to violence. This is a crime.
Yeah, this one should not be allowed even on X because that's against U.S. law. And that's the only, so Musk basically has brought free speech back to the platform. The only infringements are allowed are infringements already applied by U.S. law. So you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Well,
you
actually,
can't incite violence.
you can do that. There was a lawsuit about that. You can do that, but what you can't do is tell somebody that you're going to assault them or threaten them.
Fair. Okay.
You
good.
can't do that.
Good to know.
And the hypocrisy of this, though, I should be seeing a headline that is this woman's door being kicked down by the FBI and her taken out in her jammies. If it was to be even between left and right, because there have been people on the right side that said
this
stuff that was relatively similar, but maybe not as extreme, or maybe as extreme, that were taken out by the FBI.
Go back.
And some of them were killed by the FBI.
This
woman
just is a special education teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Saying this, and she's not done yet either. She's got a little bit more.
So does that mean she needs to be specially educated, or does that mean she teaches special ed kids?
Clearly, we can see it's both.
Girl, you can't handle nobody except a cheesecake. Get out of here.
Come forward. We fucking know. Just tell me. Or leave. Please.
Wow.
The door.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah.
Well, when the rapture comes, honey, you're going to be left behind, so we're going to leave you.
Well, she's not another. She's just
no,
lost, is
but
what she
the
is.
people
She's
who
a
get
lost
left behind are willingly leaving themselves behind.
Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that's stirring on social media right now. This kind of energy is being popularized and encouraged. I'm seeing these people that I know saying this kind of stuff on social media right now, or verging on this kind of rhetoric.
Yeah, so we got the New York Post now.
This one's crazy. Minnesota dad who ranted against Trump election, gunned down wife, ex-girlfriend, and his 2 kids in a murder-suicide. A Minnesota dad who ranted against President-elect Donald Trump online shot and killed his wife, ex-partner, and his 2 sons before turning the gun on himself, according to authorities. The shooter, 46-year-old Anthony Nephew, had a pattern of mental health issues, Duluth Police Chief Mike Senawa said on Friday.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, one day after authorities found 5 people dead inside 2 homes in the city. Authorities found Anthony Nephew's son, blah, 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 blah. Dead from a parent. Jeez, yeah, okay.
So
ex-partner Aaron Abramson, 47, and her son, Jacob Nephew, 15.
Yeah, so
15 years old.
So this is tragic, and I don't know if they're going to bring this up, but he said some stuff like, it's like, well, now that Trump's there, we're going to be hunted down in my type of lifestyle, and people like me are going to be hunted down, and this is why I got to take him out. I don't know if this article says that, but you can look into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on here. Let's see. So police found his 45-year-old wife. After identifying Anthony Nephew as a suspect, police found his 45-year-old wife, Catherine, and their 7-year-old son, Oliver, dead from gunshot wounds inside their family home close by. Anthony was also found dead inside the home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Here we go.
Before his rampage, Anthony Nephew had been sharing left-wing and anti-Trump posts on his Facebook account. A mental health in the world can no longer peacefully coexist, and a lot of the reason is religion, Anthony wrote in July. I'm terrified of religious zealots inflicting Their misguided beliefs on me and my family. I have intrusive thoughts of being burned at the stake as a witch or crucified on a burning cross.
So,
this
full
is the
stop.
media's fault. This is the media's fault.
Exactly. This is exactly the media's fault. Full stop.
God,
Because
dude.
this is what they've been programming into people's heads. And there are people that are of not high mental fortitude and constitution that are going to be preyed on by this. And this is your fault, CNN. This is your fault, MSNBC. This is your fault, BuzzFeed and all that.
Yep.
This is your fault. And you know, we can't sue them for it. Who are you going to sue? Some nameless corporation that just shove out.
We are all in different realities now. And it's because of
Dude,
these
it's
media
crazy.
conglomerates pitting us against one another. And guys, we're just saying, come back home. It's actually not what it's been made out to be. Keep looking. Please, for God's sakes, come back home. Family, friends.
No, this seriously pisses. And this there are so many more cases of this than we're going to show you. And all you have to do is go look. And what they're saying is like and even school shooters that have been coming up have, like, if you look in their manifestos when you can find them when they haven't been censored, it's literally, you know, like all the same crap that, you know, Joyanne Reed from MSNBC is saying, you know, like, oh, you know, they're coming for it, or the religious people are coming for you. I'm like, I'm sorry, religious Christians don't do nothing. They don't.
Wow.
They don't. They're not coming after you. They may have their judgments against you. They may not be happy that you're divorced and you have kids with another person, but they're not coming after you. This is what the media has told you, and now you're killing yourselves and you're killing other people.
Man.
Man.
Okay, so that's one horrifying story. And then here's, I'm sad to say this, guys, another one. Local Seattle woman accused of killing father with ice axe after argument about lights. Sorry about this giant bar up top, guys.
I want to do a little disclaimer on this one, though, because I don't know if they cover it in this, but the original publication of this is because the stress of the election was, you know, caused her to do this, but then now it's really hard to find that. You know, like the internet's not forever in some cases, right?
Yeah. So Seattle, Washington, Corey Lizette Burke, a 33-year-old Seattle woman, has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of her father, Timothy Burke, after what authorities describe as a violent attack on their home November 5th. Charging documents from the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office reveal chilling details about the incident, which began with a dispute over household lights. According to the investigators, Burke and her father, 67-year-old Timothy Burke, began arguing after he insisted on keeping lights on, which escalated when Burke allegedly decided she needed to do something about her father. What? After the argument, Burke reportedly went upstairs, retrieved an ice axe, and returned to confront him in the basement. Detectives allege that she tripped him and used the axe to strike him repeatedly. She reportedly admitted to officers that she also strangled him with her hand and the axe while he struggled to breathe, sustaining injuries to his head, back, and side. Charging documents further state that Burke struck her father multiple times with the ice axe, inflicting puncture wounds deep enough to penetrate his lung and rib cage. Additional injuries included blunt force trauma to his head and what officers described as bite marks on his back.
So let's move a little bit ahead. Like,
This
she was
is-
busted because she was busting out windows and
Yes. Yeah. So she went upstairs. She reportedly smashed several windows in her home, leading to neighbors calling 911. When officers arrived on the scene shortly after 8 p.m., they found Burke outside the residence, visibly disoriented with blood on her face. She was reportedly unresponsive to questions, stating only that she was sick and hadn't eaten. She denied she'd taken any substances, but did not provide clear answers regarding the situation inside. Officers detained her after she refused to allow a search of the home and requested medical attention.
let's see if there's anything about the motive, because this is just gory. And
well, it is. It is. Sadly.
Yeah, well, but there's nothing that's tying it to what we're talking about in this article.
And I saw another article that did a better job of it, but I wanted to get the local news.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the local this is Cairo 7. This is probably like ABC or like
yep.
one of those affiliates. And the thing with it, so like you're gonna have to do some homework and go look it up, because like it got scrubbed real quick. But there was in the original article a mentioning of her stress around the election. And
yes.
And then actually, I think Tim Cass just covered this, and you should check it out. But like, who she's married to, apparently she was married to a trans woman, so a male.
Oh, I saw this.
And maybe she worked for Blue Horizon, which is.
I love
Hey, sorry. Go ahead and.
But yeah, you know, like what I saw was, you know, she was working for Mr. Amazon, and it's just disturbing, and it's just and then okay, on Joy-Ann Reid's one of Joy-Ann Reid's episodes on MSNBC recently, she had I think a Yale professor that was basically telling everybody well, you don't have to go to your holiday celebrations and dinners with your family if they voted for Trump. And now there's this isolate from your family because they don't vote the same as you. That's a freaking cult. Going no contact with your family and doing that's a cult. If any of y'all have kids that have gone non-contact, they're in a cult. Unless you're like a total piece of crap and you did horrible things to your kids. But now that's what they're calling to be done. And it's sick. It's gross. It's disgusting.
Here
I don't like it.
Here's the article.
Okay,
Let's go over to the Independent.
I'm going to step off for half a second. But here you go.
All right. Yep. So here it is, guys. This is what DJ was talking about. This is what I saw in the original Twitter post as well. Corey Burke allegedly told detectives that she was trying to convince her 67-year-old father, Timothy, to shut the lights off. Could not make him budge. She also told police that she had been highly emotional in a highly emotional state due to the election, and felt that there was something important about Election Day, according to the Seattle Times. So there it is. Upset due to the election and felt that this was an important day. God, she must have been in quite the state when they found her trying to explain why she did this. Wow, man. Wow. So, I don't know what to say there, guys. Could not convince him to keep the lights off. She went upstairs, retrieved the ice axe. Those were some grueling details. Okay, Timothy was something of a shut-in due to a number of health problems he was facing prior to his death, and was living at his daughter's home in Rainier Valley, Washington. Wow. Okay, so $2 million bail arraignment scheduled for November 21st. Wow.
Well, frankly, for that kind of stuff, I don't know why,
Yeah.
Wait, a $2 million bail?
Yeah, so
that's actually a lot better than I've seen for a lot of people that
let's cleanse the palate with a bit more Kill Tony.
Yeah, some funniness, because dude,
Let's jump back and see the rest of this, the Puerto Rican
real
invasion of the
quick,
Kill Tony.
What I'm feeling right now, and I think it's appropriate, is just overwhelmed, sad, and frustrated. That it's like, we've been telling you, stop saying these things. You're driving people nuts. You're like, they're calling us, misinformationists, and we're like, and they say, oh, Trump incited violence and with all this stuff, but you're doing it. This is to the media. I'm talking to the media. You guys are the inciting the violence, and we told you, and I'm so freaking frustrated.
Quit dividing people, please.
I was like, man,
try another way to make money.
Turn on the morning news. I can't stand to watch the TV news anymore.
Try telling the truth. Yeah. That would be awesome, man. With the news again.
Or let's see some happy news. Some cute kitten got adopted. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Puerto Rican takeover of Kill Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, it's gonna get raunchy now, guys.
As you see at the back, my white slaves are holding some Puerto Rican flags. Those are Puerto Rican flags, people. They look different. They do. They have one star, just like Tony's first Netflix special. Tony, you called Puerto Rico an island full of piles of hot trash, which is very close to what you like. Islands full of piles of hot boys, you it. And I'm here to stand up for my people tonight, because I'm going to say Puerto Ricans are American as fuck. We're just like y'all. We have a lot of American contributions and traits. We love our culture. We love our music. We work in aerospace. We don't want white people on our island. We're racist like you guys. And this is the last thing I'll say, Tony. I think it's fucking insane that you don't like Puerto Rico. It's a beautiful place, and the only dirty parts have been taken over by white billionaires. It's literally Austin,
I
you
mean-
idiot.
It's Austin.
Thank you guys so much. I'm Kim Congdon.
Kim Congdon, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you know, and the thing is
Paper towels.
Puerto Ricans are Americans.
Yeah.
They are.
Of course. Yeah.
And
he was making just a really clever multi-layered joke, and everyone missed it.
Well, and you know, she was taught. You can't see it right now. She's chugging the beer and everything, and you know, splashing people. But those jokes, yes, they are offended. She used the F word that refers to gay people, and she's directing it at Tony, and you know, being like, "Well, you know, this, that, or the other," and you know, he got burnt and admitted to being burnt.
Yeah,
and that's what humor is.
Yeah,
you know, George Carlin called Richard Pryor and who else the N-word, and then went to explain it's not what they're saying, it's who's saying it and how they're saying it. And this is all in good humor, which the left doesn't have anymore. And the right has kind of been developing. It's still a little dry. Like I'm sorry, like the right-wing comedy stuff.
Some of it's really good, but like some of it is just like, okay, yeah, no, you're trying. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the real comedy scene is definitely happening on Kill Tony.
The best comics are
just
centrists.
everybody. It's everybody.
Well,
you know, and there's a lot of comedians that, you know, disagree with some of the other comics on the stage, but they all love each other. So there's another point later on where
go check out Flagrant Podcast. You know, like that's a good podcast. You know, they're quite liberal compared to what I think I am, even though I think I'm a liberal, but still, man, like, yo, I can be quite brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit more of this here, guys. Check this.
This is a special episode.
This is people actually loving each other and having fun. And
I completely
this
agree.
is reality, guys.
I couldn't agree more.
And you got the drummer with the Chinese hat.
Yep.
We love them.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Latino drummer, with the samurai hat.
Mr. President.
Or is that a Chinese hat? Yeah. It's cool.
Y'all having fun out there? How about one more time for Kim Congdon joining the
Yeah,
panel?
Kim,
It's
Kim,
going
Kim.
down. Another bucket pull coming at you. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe
So
this
that's
is the
it.
Kill
That-
Tony debut of
I think it comes in later. He talks a little bit more about that night at Madison Square Garden, but that's enough for you guys to see. Okay, that's who Kill Tony really is. That's the scene that he has brought together.
And that's maybe what we should be more engaging with. You know, being able to joke and laugh with each other and be like, "Hey, I think you're crazy, you commie bastard,
Yeah.
but I love you." You know,
Yeah.
instead of like everybody's a freaking Nazi and you know, because like one thing I'm gonna put my gripe on the quote unquote woke right is I see now that like Trump was elected and all this stuff's going on, I'm seeing a tendency towards what the left has been doing, but coming towards the right. And I'm not saying the right is going as far yet, but I'm seeing still the same roots, still the same sprouting of what turned the left into what they are now.
Oh, people are definitely enjoying the aftermath, and you know.
And to a certain extent, we should, because it's like, well, it's a little bit of vindication. Like, you guys have been treating us like crap for a long time, but
I don't think there's a should there, though. I don't like that energy. I don't think that it's othering the people. And again, I always return. And this is very much a theme on this podcast. That Ramana Maharshi, when asked how to deal with others, there are no others.
Yes, but I think you may be like, when I say like there should be to a certain extent, what I'm saying is more like the Kill Tony end, a little bit of that.
Oh,
you know?
but that's
Yes.
totally.
There should be that, but what I'm saying with the woke right, they're not doing that. They're being malicious and malevolent. In their own way.
You shouldn't just be getting off on the suffering of other people and their disappointment.
And you can do that for a little bit. Like if somebody steps on, it's called Schadenfreude. When somebody steps on a rake and it hits them in the face, it's funny, right? But when you get off to watching like Saul and people getting cut up and laughing, that's when it becomes a problem. Now with the woke right, the problem is they're just like, well, own the libs. It's like, okay, that was funny when it was a meme, but now that it's becoming reality and all you're doing is owning the libs and owning the libs, well, now you guys are in the top position. It's not as funny because it's not as accurate anymore.
Or goading people and laughing at people. You know, it's just too much of the same old game that got us here in the first place. We're playing into the pitch battle that the media has created. We're playing into the divide and conquer methodology.
And a good example of woke right is the Nick Fuenteses. You know what I mean? Like that end. You know, I won't even. You know, some people consider like Tucker Carlson and Daily Wire woke right. I'm talking about more of the like. I just want to be a troll. And now that we're in the winning position, I can take advantage of that and have more emphasis behind my trolling. I'm not down with that because that's what the left did. And that's what the right before them did. And that's just, it's gross. It's not good. It's not funny. It's not humor. It's not good.
Yeah, I want to welcome and engage with people of all different perspectives and beliefs. As long as you have a good heart and good energy to you, I don't care what your persuasion is, what your ethnicity is, what your orientation is, what your religion is, none of it.
Unless we can joke on each other real good, you know, that's always good when it's just like, oh yeah, all right, we can poke each other.
Well, that means that we actually want to hang out and we want to get along.
Exactly.
We want to be together. Yeah, that's totally different than just laughing at some people that you see as below you. It's a totally different orientation and posture it takes. So yeah, guys, I know this has been a wild last week, and that this was in fact quite a wild episode. But thanks for staying with us. Always let us continue to courageously call out evil, and let's put our best foot forward, and let's be led by our hearts when we interact with one another, and let's start lifting this world. Let's lift this country, and let's change this world from the inside out. Love you guys. This has been amazing since this podcast began, and I'm deeply honored to have my great friend DJ here with me.
I'm glad he twisted my arm
on a weekly basis now, doing this thing here, and that we're getting to speak on all that's happening in the world and how we may best orient ourselves in times like these.
Yeah, and if you can't tell, I'm the ornery one, and he's the logical, one. I am the Tellarite, and you are the Vulcan.
Well, I was
Star Trek nerds.
very, very much in a way of speaking, the way that you are feeling about all of this and responding and reacting to it is very much an energy that I inhabited for a long time.
Yeah.
Going through the wars in Iraq and seeing the rise of the surveillance state post 9/11, and I guess maybe I've gotten used to some of it. But also, I've over time, you know how it is, guys. We learn how to stay in our Zen place in the midst of turmoil, and it's a hard thing to do to surf these tumultuous waves, especially in times like these. But some of us have seen this coming for a long time, and shit, I still have those days where I am emotionally distraught with what's happening in the world, but then I remember the wonder of the miracle that we are whirling within here on a floating planet in the midst of empty space, surrounded by all these distant stars that we will likely never see in our lifetimes, that there are so many of that they are uncountable, and we have no understanding as to why it is and why we are here as self-reflective extensions of a living planet that have become self-aware and are looking back at the stars from whence we came, since we all are built of atoms that were forged in the furnaces of stars.
Oh, those stupid stars. If they were smarter, they'd be closer together. Yeah, no, right. Stupid stars.
So here we are, stardust reanimated and speaking and talking, and it's a trip. And it's a wonder, and what a gift. And, we're out here expecting humanity to be perfect right now when we're still in the midst of the story, and we actually get to write this story and co-create this story. So the great journey that we've been on here in the U.S. since its inception, since the radical movements, again, of the 60s, we're continuing to try and calibrate ourselves here, and we've got to do this together. We can't figure this out alone. One side is not superior to the other. The bird needs two wings to fly. So let's transcend this fray and look at it from above, from a place of love. And from that place of love, your heart becomes filled with encouragement once again. And that's the ground from which we can most effectively change this world from the inside out. That's the name of the game, guys. So fertilize oneself, love your brothers and sisters, and let's do this thing.
Word.
All right, y'all. I've been Chris.
I've been DJ.
We'll see you next time.